They started laughing before she even stepped onto the mat. The sound wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to cut through the quiet hum of the dojo in downtown Toronto. It was the kind of laugh people try to hide behind their hands, the kind that says, "She doesn't belong here." And for a moment, Emily Carter almost believed them. She stood at the edge of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, barefoot on the cold mat, her borrowed white gi slightly too big for her small frame. At 32, she was older than most beginners in the room. She worked a full-time job at a small accounting firm, took care of her mother who had arthritis, and had never considered herself athletic. The only reason she was there was because 2 months earlier, she had been followed home from the subway in Scarborough. Nothing happened, but the fear had stayed with her like a shadow. She didn't want to feel small anymore. But as she tied her white belt with trembling fingers, she felt exactly that. Across the mat stood Jason Miller, the gym's star black belt. He was in his late 20s, broad-shouldered, confident, and undefeated in local competitions. The younger guys circled him like he was a celebrity. When the instructor announced they would demonstrate a technique and needed a volunteer, Jason's eyes landed on Emily. "Let's see what our newest members got," he said lightly. A few snickers followed. Emily's cheeks burned. She could feel the old familiar feeling rising in her chest, the one she had felt in high school when she was picked last for every team, the one she felt during meetings when her ideas were ignored. She almost shook her head to refuse. But then she remembered the subway platform. The footsteps behind her. The way her heart had pounded. She stepped forward. They bowed. Jason smiled politely, but there was amusement in his eyes. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'll go easy." The instructor told them to start from standing. Jason reached for her collar casually, expecting hesitation. What he didn't know was that for the past 8 weeks, Emily had been training quietly in the early morning women's self-defense class. The coach, a retired competitor from Vancouver, had noticed her determination. While others left when drills got hard, Emily stayed. While others complained about bruises, she asked for extra rounds. She had said very little. She had listened to everything. Jason moved in confidently, but Emily reacted faster than anyone expected. She slipped to the side, gripped his sleeve, and executed a perfectly timed foot sweep. The room gasped as Jason's back hit the mat with a thud. Before the laughter could turn into surprise, she transitioned smoothly. Her knee slid across his torso. She isolated his arm. Everything she had drilled over and over played out like muscle memory. Jason tried to escape, but she anticipated the movement. In one fluid motion, she locked in an armbar and extended her hips. Tap. It happened in less than 10 seconds. The room fell silent. Jason blinked, stunned, staring at the ceiling lights. Emily released immediately and scrambled back, worried she had done something wrong. Her heart was racing so loudly she couldn't hear anything else. Then the instructor started clapping. Slowly at first, then louder. The students joined in. Jason sat up, rubbing his elbow, and looked at her with something different in his eyes now, not amusement, but respect. He stood and offered his hand. "That was clean," he said honestly. "Really clean." Emily shook his hand, her own still shaking. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. But the story didn't end there. After class, one of the teenage girls who trained in the kids program approached her. "I saw what you did," the girl said shyly. "I get made fun of at school. I didn't think someone like me could be good at this." Someone like me. Emily saw herself in that girl, unsure, underestimated, carrying silent fears. She knelt down and smiled. "You don't have to look strong to be strong," she said. "You just have to show up." In the weeks that followed, the laughter stopped. Not because Emily had embarrassed a black belt, but because she kept coming back. She kept training. She helped newer students tie their belts. She stayed late to drill. She lost some rounds and won others, but she never quit. Jason, humbled and impressed, asked her to partner up more often. They pushed each other. He admitted later that her win had reminded him why he started training in the first place, not for ego, but for growth. Months later, at a small local tournament in Ontario, Emily stood on the podium with a silver medal around her neck. It wasn't gold, it wasn't flashy, but when she looked out into the crowd and saw her mother smiling proudly from the stands, tears filled her eyes. She hadn't just learned how to defend herself. She had learned how to believe in herself. The laughter that once echoed in that Toronto dojo had turned into applause, but the real victory wasn't tapping out a black belt in seconds. It was silencing the voice inside her that said she wasn't enough. And somewhere in Canada, maybe in another gym or another classroom, someone who feels small right now needs to hear this: strength doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like a quiet woman tying her white belt, stepping onto the mat, and refusing to walk away. Because the moment they laugh at you might be the very moment you're about to surprise them all.